Good morning, Dzień dobry. All right. So, first stream ever. So, I guess my main goal today is to try to keep things under control while I add one one other uh kind of I call it a distraction. It's just another step that I have to do to manage everything while trading. And we're gonna see what we can do here to explain things as I go and just kind of keep you, I guess, in the loop to how I see the markets and um, what I'm doing with these charts. So I start the day out um, the same way every day. Um, and I'm going to kind of go through that process of what I do in the morning uh, while London's open. So I do have other computers here, so you may see me staring off in other directions, looking at different screens. But my main screen, what I'm going to show you is straight ahead. So hopefully I'll be looking in the camera as much as possible. So thanks for joining me. And all right, so I'm going to focus more on the charts and basically what am I doing? And um, we'll start with that first. Kind of bring these up so I can see my tabs here. And I can start to explain some stuff once I get things kind of situated here. Okay, so the first thing that I like to do is check the news. For London session, I didn't see any red folder type news, so there's really not much to worry about. The only thing to be aware of is war news that can affect the market. Donald Trump tweets. We have to always watch for those. But hopefully he's sleeping at the moment. We won't get too much of that right now. Not aware of really anything else going on. So, all right. So what I'd like to do first, after checking the news, higher time frame. Really, my thought, my goal is I'm trying to figure out what the charts are telling me in terms of direction on higher time frames, and I'm trying to get that to align with lower time frames. As I explain things, maybe this will be a little bit more clear. So looking for direction on higher time frame and trying to get as many things in confluence with each other to kind of take trades in the direction of higher time frame. I do watch lower time frame, but decisions on direction are not quite as important on the lower time frames. So I have my charts kind of situated. So this section here is higher time frame. It's 30-minute, 60-minute, 4-hour, and daily. Middle one, pretty important chart for me. This is going to be where I make most of my trading decisions is on the 15-minute. And then these charts over here, I have a 1-minute, a 2-minute, and a 5-minute. Those charts are going to be more for refining where I want to enter the trade. So 15-minute, 30-minute, sometimes the hour will give me some entries also, but yeah, we'll go from there. So first thing I do is I open up daily chart to get an idea of, what's the market been doing here recently? What did it do on Friday? So if I look overall since April, it's been up. We have retraced a few times here. Going into like last week was definitely a down week. So momentum has pushed its way down. But if I look back just a couple weeks, momentum has been pushing back up. On Friday, you can see that's this green candle right here, inside day. And recently, it's been kind of big push down. It got past this area, pushing down. So my thought is right now, from what the chart's telling me on this higher time frame, momentum's basically down. And you can see so far today, this candle, it's still been pushing down. So what else do I have on the chart? Okay, I have fair value gaps. On higher time frame, they're more important for me. Lower time frame, a little less. Lower time frame, I do have them, but I use them more as like a indication of like direction. So I see a lot on lower time frame, and they're all being generated like as buys or sell fair value gaps. That gives me kind of a clue as to who's in control on that smaller time frame. Higher time frame, I look a little bit different. I like to look for these to hold. I know people are really into inverse fair value gaps. Yeah, I'd look at that too, but higher time frame, I'm looking for those to hold and react. So, um, you can see right now that on August 4, we had this big move up here, made a fair value gap, and right now it's at about the 50%. So I do have these white lines on the fair value gap that show where I'm at the 50%. So, I do watch that, and we'll see if we get any more reaction. It has reacted a few times from this area, so I don't know if that would actually hold. I'm thinking more of a move down into this area, this untouched gap down here. Maybe we get a reaction out of there. So I would say overall momentum on the higher time frame has pushed up, but recently it's come down. All right, so that's the daily. 4 hour. 4 hour, I have a few added things here. I do have a weekly VWAP, so you can see price has been tracking below. Weekly VWAP. So what does this look like? Well, you can see overall same thing as daily. It's been a big push up. Price is retracing down. It has basically been moving down for a good week or so. Has come retrace, still pushed down, retrace back up, push down again. So I would say momentum on 4 hour at this point is also at least short term down. So 4 hour down. On the 1 hour, okay, only additions here. There's the weekly in the maroon color. I also have daily VWAP in this blue. So those are important because I don't really trade off of the VWAPs, but I do look at them as like areas where price would have some trouble, maybe getting through or it's maybe reacting from. You have to really watch those areas. So sometimes I use VWAP as like a target because I know price loves to retrace to these. So if I say entered into a buy trade here, maybe I'd have a target would be the VWAP or something closer. So, but these are just reference for me. They give me information. And do I take like just random blind trades from them? No, I don't. So I do also look at fair value gap on 60. I look at those as also like a reaction point. So, we have one here. So if price were to come back up into this area, I would be looking for that to hold and then push back down. So, I don't jump right on while I'm waiting for it to inverse. This one hasn't been touched. It's a little bit of a higher time frame. I would look for the reaction to go back down. 30-minute. All right, so I have a few different things here. 30-minute, I've added volume profile. You got the POC, most traded area. You have value area low, value area high. That's where approximately 68% of the volume for the day so far is traded. So you'll see price likes to hang out in that area. I'll get into more as I stream more, but just for now, just know this is volume profile. What's all this other stuff on the right-hand side? This is basically your options or your GEX that match with what I'm trading, which is MAQ, micro NASDAQ. This is on the option side. Now, I don't trade those blind. I have them on my chart just as also a reference, reaction points, just like VWAP. So super important to see those areas and know they exist. And as we go, I can kind of talk about some, because if they show up in certain areas where I want to actually have a trade, yeah, it's just extra strength, extra confluence for me. Some of them are magnets. Some of them work more as like a wall of defense, and it's hard for price to get through it. So, but also know that those do update periodically, because some of this stuff is like a daily roadmap, and some of the other information here is weekly or monthly. So, and you can see some of these on here on my chart. So give me a second. I just heard the normal connection lost. Let me check all my connections, make sure I'm good. It's funny how this always happens, but just the perfect time to get connection lost on stuff. Let's see. Good. So far, everything looks all right. This is good. Now I can document all the times where I lose connection on Trade Evade or Rhythmic. All right. Okay. So let me get back here. 30-minute. So I do have that information on the side here. You got the daily VWAP, the fair value gaps. This other color, I think this, I'm using Trade Devil's market structure indicator on this. These areas, I believe, are just like order block areas. The orange areas are listed as like supply demand. Will I take trades off of those? Maybe. Depends on what the market's doing. So, really my key goal, like I said, is to find the direction of the momentum and wait for price to kind of retrace back into that, and look for reaction points to turn the market back around, go back towards the momentum side. So if I can give you a better example, so let me kind of make this a little bit bigger so you can see. So this is 30 minutes. So like I said, higher time frame, daily, 4-hour, hourly. At least on the short term was down. Up, higher time frame, it's been moving up. Market's been up. But here you can see just recently, going back to like this morning around midnight Eastern time. Market right around here, value area high, is pushed all the way down, right? So you got some strong bars here, nice push down. Now, if I look at volume profile, there's not a lot of action in here. So what do I expect? I expect the price to fill all that area in. Price will probably move. It's always attracted back to at least the POC, or at least the value area low or value area high. So, by the time New York opens, this will probably be almost a perfect bell curve. Right now, it's a little extended down. You can see they've dropped more volume down here. Now, the reason why this is not shaded the same color, this is actually outside the value area here. So when you get below the value area low, you can say price is super cheap. So people want to buy it. Above value area high, this dimmed area is expensive. So people tend to want to sell the market up there, bring it back into the value area. All right, so what am I thinking? Well, you got a fair value gap that's not touched yet, right? You have an order block area here that hasn't been touched yet. Price has been moving down. So this is an area of interest for me. So if the price was to move back up, get in here, that would be probably a good area for a trade. Where would I expect the price to go? Well, my expectation would be to continue momentum down and take out the low. So initial target, probably the low. Now, where these other things kind of come in, they're kind of the roadblock to getting to my goal. So my goal is momentum says down, right? It's not what I think, it's just what the chart is telling me, down. And it's down until the market says, nope, we're going to go the other way. So, like I'll give you an example. So like, where are good spots for me? Well, at the very start of that gap, I like to look at the 50%, and I like to look at where the gap started, right? All three of those look pretty good to me for a reaction. Where would I want to put my stop? Well, you can see momentum has been down. Where does momentum break? Well, on a structure shift, change of character. So basically what you're looking at, let me give you an example here. I'll use this as like my pointer. So if price starts to move back up and it gets above this area, then we've got a shift. So my idea of momentum still moving down is in jeopardy if the price moves up above here. So where do I want to have my stop? My stop will be around this area, right up in here, before this fair value gap, right? But like I said, you always have to consider other things too, because where does price like to go? Well, price likes to go to this VWAP. Price likes to go to the POC. That's the most traded area, and if it's going to consolidate and fill in the rest of this profile, it could easily just pop right back up here. So I really, when I trade London, I know from experience over a few years that at any time the price can just zip right up here to the PLC, or if it's above, come down. And I've seen that happen in like 1 minute. So you think you got a good trade, you think you're good, all set, beautiful setup, and then price just straight up. So market manipulation happens for sure. News, world events kind of give you the story to like a big move, at least a temporary move. It's grab stops and they continue in the direction of the momentum. So mentally, I have to be prepared for that. The biggest thing is, don't be scared to try the trades and take them. So, and by the way, today I'm trading on a Bull Knox account. So, you'll see me take some trades for sure, I'm guessing, unless we just go sideways. All right. Okay, so that's 30-minute. Okay, 15-minute, basically same information as 30-minute chart, but it's a little bit more refined for me. So, this area here that I was looking on the 30-minute was a fair value gap. On the 15-minute, it's not. So, that's an area, okay, Mom, maybe I don't want to take that trade. I can clearly see we have more volume up here and a lot of sideways build and a push down. Maybe that's the area I want. And really, if the price gets above here, like I said, it really invalidates my thought of the market moving down. Because then we've got kind of that shift, that change of character to now we're starting to move up. So, all right. I'm also monitoring other stuff on other screens. So at times I may pause and look at that to see what other trades are happening. Because I do look at gold. I do trade some gold, but for my streaming, it's going to be NASDAQ. So, all right. So let's move on. A couple other things that I'd like to watch in London are, I think a lot of people know initial balance. Initial balance is that first hour of like the market open. In purple, I have Europe. So Europe, which is, I have it set for 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it'll track the first hour range, high, low. So you can see is 95 points, and it gives some targets, reference targets, how far will they go? And it's funny when I look at this because you can see sometimes they align very, very close to like things on the chart. So here in Europe makes the initial balance, the first hour. This is the 50% of the initial balance, which is called the midpoint. There's also a session mid that sometimes I'll track, but I like to really watch the midpoint of Europe in purple, and this color, this cyan color, this is London. So London's forming right now. It starts at 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and finishes at 4. And then it kind of gives me the roadmap. We can see, well, where is price at in these initial balance areas? And we can start to think about who's in control and which way do we want to try to take a trade. So, but you can see from the Europe, these targets here, they're just like a reference target. And you can see the range is 95. The first target is like 25% of that range. So that's what that is. This says up here 1.5, that's half of the range target. And I track all the way up to 2.0, which is basically doubling this range and projecting it out. And then this would be a target up here. Well, you can see, and this happens so often, that first target of the 0.5 is right at value area low. And then the next target, funny enough, is right at the start of a fair value gap. So what would I expect? Well, a lot of traders, these are like magnets, but they're also points of reaction too. So sometimes you'll have super reactions at these points, and sometimes nothing. Sometimes price will blow through it. But what I like to do is, if I'm going to trade one of these points for a reaction, I need to have like some evidence on the chart that's going to show me price is going to have a hard time there. It's going to react there. So, if I'm looking at the 15-minute, what the chart's telling me, yeah, I probably got a chance here that price, this is kind of the initiation for the move down, this area. So when it gets to the 1.5 target, chances are it's going to have a reaction. How far that goes, no one knows. You have to monitor the chart. Once I enter the trade, the only things that I can control are, how much am I risking? And you just hope that the market continues in the direction of what you were originally going or planning on, which is to go short. So you're really not going to see me take breakout trades. You're going to see me take basically momentum, push, retracement. That's a trade, or an area that I feel will get a reaction. Even if that's against momentum, I will trade an area if I have the support and confluence on the charts to tell me. So right now, I'm really not in an area of any trades that I want to look at, so we can just kind of continue on. All right, so that's the 15-minute. On the 5-minute, all right, so I still have a lot of information on the 5-minute. But what do I use this for? Well, as I start to drop in like areas of interest for me on the higher time frame, I'm going to use smaller time frame to see, can I get like a better price? Can I get a better point of reaction? So to give you a good example, on a 15-minute chart. Okay, so let me step back here. We'll go 30 minutes. So let me highlight my area of interest on the 30-minute. Okay, so we talked about this area. So I'm just going to put in, let's see, we'll go with this color for right now. All right, so let me change this to 30-minute so you can see this on my charts. Okay, so that's the 30-minute area. Now the other area that I talked about that would invalidate my trade would be like in this area. We talked about the value area low. So if the price were to get above this area, I would obviously not be correct in my analysis. So I give it that color. Okay, just so we can see it on the charts, right? So this area was important. That would invalidate. I'm also looking at this as like a reaction point. Another thing I like to do is Fibonacci. So I would take like, okay, this moved down. This is where it started, moved down. So I take a Fibonacci and I drag this down. I don't really trade Fibonacci, but it does give me an idea. Are the trades I'm looking for, are they going to be in discount or premium? So just like I was talking about with the volume profile, above value area high, it's expensive, people want to sell. Below value area low, it's cheap, people want to buy it. It's the same kind of thing here. So Fibonacci, a lot of people say that 50% level of this move down is kind of your divider. Below that, it's cheap, people want to buy. Above, it's more expensive, people want to sell. So you can see this first area, or this fair value gap, is actually in a good area. It says it's more expensive, basically, from this is what I take away from using this tool. Couple areas, you've got your OTE area, and really, for me, if price starts to get above Fibonacci, say 78.6, a little higher, it's probably going to be a lost cause, which happens to coincide with the area I said was kind of the last stand. Like if the price gets above that, yeah, it's probably all over. But this is also telling me the same with Fibonacci. If it gets above this, yeah, I probably don't really want to try to take any more sell trades out of this area. So, but this area seems like a pretty good deal. And it's in a big enough retracement area for me to look for a reaction down. All right. So we're going to monitor that. If price gets into this area, you probably see me take some type of sell. Where would my stop be? Well, some areas that would probably be good area. Like I said, if price gets above this, you're probably done for. So, I'd be looking for a stop above this area. Entries, in here to go back down to the low. But because I highlighted this, let's look at the smaller time frame and let's see, is there anything in there that could maybe give me a little bit better clue? So now I'm on 5-minute. Okay, so if I look in this upper area here, my last chance area, I'll call it. There's a fair value gap that's right here. That's untouched. This is probably a good area, probably a good reaction area. I could see something happening in here. So I mark that out because it kind of gives me a little bit better entry from this area of no return. So, I've got the start of the fair value gap right there. I've got that entry, which is, or actually this entry here is the start. That entry is kind of like where the fair value gap completed. Those two I like. I think that would be good. Now, as I track back down to like my first area that I'm looking for, 5 minute doesn't really tell me too much information. What do I like out of here? Well, the one in the middle is not super great. I see like a lot of doji bars. Doji type bars where the bodies are tiny and the wicks are big. Don't really tell me a lot of information other than uh, there's a lot of people trading there. Um, so it doesn't really give direction. Um, it just tells me that's an area where a lot of people have, bought and sold. So, but I want to take an entry right there. I'm a little less excited with that one. This indicator, and I will tell you, indicators are just that. Do I put all my faith in indicator? Not really. So what would I look at here? I would look at maybe not the middle point. I would look at the first edge that's really hasn't been touched at all yet. And I would probably look at where it was made on the 30-minute, that fair value gap. So, but 5 minute kind of tells me the middle, probably not the best place. Where would I put my stop on this one? Well, this one, I have an untouched fair value gap up here. Price is going to want to get up there, but I would hope for some type of reaction from this first zone. So I'd probably look to put my stop somewhere around here, and my entries will be here. I'm looking to take it all the way back down to the bottom, unless the charts tell me something different. Then I would be looking to either exit early or exit at a key level, a key point. What are some key points? Well, you've got areas like the midpoint of the initial balance. Europe's in play. Europe's already been made, so you can see that's on my chart. You've got London being created right now, so we have to pay attention to those because price will react from those. So potentially a touch here, maybe it retraces back down to the midpoint. If I'm in with more than one contract, maybe I take one off right there for a profit, and then we'll let the other one go all the way to the low. So it's kind of a plan. All right, 2 minute, you can really get into the weeds here with stuff. But this is what the 2 minute is looking like. Does it really tell me too much? Not a whole lot different. Now I do have up here a couple entries that I marked. There's actually a 2 minute fair value gap in this area that looks interesting. And I've got actually an entry right on there from, I believe that was a 5 minute fair value gap. So it's being backed up by a 2 minute also. 1 minute, I really don't look at it too much because, look at what does that tell you? Not a whole lot. So, all right. Let's do this. Go here. All right, as price starts to track back up here, like I said, I was less interested in the middle point, and I don't really see too much from the 5 minute or the 15 or the 30 to say that middle point is good, but I would take this first reaction. So I just use a general measurement tool. Okay, where's my entry? I bring it up to where my stop is, and this just gives me kind of a reference. What's a good target? And I want to make sure if I enter something, I'm gonna have a chance to get some type of profit. So, all right. What I like to do is at least have 1-to-1. So you can see if I take one contract here on micro, I'm looking at $93 for one to take it back down to the mid. If I was to come in here with an entry, it would cost me basically $38 for a second entry, which would move my average between the two, which happens to be the middle of the fair value gap, to there, right? So basically, I'm looking at roughly about $135, $140 for risk. And, if I do come in with the second contract, I'm going to be looking to refine my target to like 1-to-1 there. So let's go ahead and we'll drop one trade on right here at my first entry, and we'll see how it goes. Now, I will say it's 3:35 Eastern Standard Time. This is still being built. This could really push up, really start to move, because they're going to want to go try to take out the high of the range of Europe, which is right there at my entry. But I think it's a valid entry point. It was in value. It was a little more expensive when I used the Fibonacci tool. So we'll set it up, we'll try it, and we'll see how it goes. And we'll just manage it as we roll. So I've already looked at, what's my cost for the trade? Well, this one is $93. Potentially, I want to take it all the way down here. This is basically just risk to reward. A full stop, it's going to cost me $93.50 for the one contract. Where do I really want to take it? Well, I want to take it all the way down to the low, which is like a 1-to-2 risk to reward. If it hits down there, I think it's hard to see. We can kind of move it over. You can see right down here, we're looking at, basically double. So it's a risk 1 to make 2. You're looking at making 190 if the price comes all the way back down there. But like I said, there's lots of factors that we have to see. If price continues the momentum down, does it get through the midpoint? What starts to build in front of me? Is momentum starting to push up? Well, right now, short-term momentum in Europe and London, yeah, it's starting to definitely show it's pushing up. But overall, we're still momentum down. So, we have to watch. All I can do is take trades for what the charts are showing me. I can't do the I think. I think price is going to do this trade. If you want to see me lose a lot, go that method where I think the market's going to move all the way up, or I think the market's going to move all the way down. I used to trade that way all the time. I was wrong a lot. So, all right. So another key point that I definitely want to talk about is I let price come to me. I pick the points where I enter. Like I said, I don't do like the breakout type trades. I let the price come to me where I want to get in. And that's really important. So for me, if the price doesn't touch that, I just don't get in the trade. Am I mad about that? Am I, sad or whatever? No, because that's where I want to get in, because I have a reason, I have a why I want to get in right there. And that's important. So, what am I thinking? What am I monitoring right now? Well, I'm seeing how price is just reacting. Obviously, momentum is down, at least short term, but also evident on higher time frame. Now, short term, 15-minute, we're still down. We got this little push up, right? Now, the key thing is if I zoom in here, let me take this off. All right, if I zoom in here and we take a look at price. So price initiated its move right here down, right? So at least this short-term leg down shows me sellers in control. Price is starting to move back up. Well, let's see what buyers can do. How high can buyers take it? Well, if buyers take it above this area, Then we've got a shift, at least on the short term. What does that do on, say, 30-minute? Okay, well, 30-minute shows maybe a little bit different picture too, because where did everything initiate on the 30-minute? Well, closer to this POC up here, it started here and went below all this area, kind of went sideways here and went all the way down. So for me, on a little higher time frame, we really don't have a switch or super change of character until this area up here, a little higher POC. So for me, it's still momentum down unless the price can get past this point, close past it, show me, okay, we're definitely looking strong. So um, we can take Fibonacci from the high of this move down and we can kind of see what does that look like. So for me, no, I'm not necessarily taking this trade uh, in value on this move down. This move down, which I would say is a little bit more supported on a higher time frame, a bigger level, puts this area in value. So see that 50%. This is going to be your premium. This is your discount. So people want to sell up here. People want to buy down here. When I look at that um, optimal trade entry area, which is usually like this. Some people say 61.8, some people say 62, some people say 65. That's why I have those numbers on the chart. This is like your, um, I think some people on YouTube call this the golden zone. So this is still like a valid thing. And, do I trade right off those levels? No, not really. But you can see I do have an entry. This one was from a 5-minute fair value gap, and it aligns perfectly on 61.8. So for me, if I'm going to take a trade with the original momentum down, where's a good entry? Or where do I think price is going to react to move back down? Well, it's probably there. Uh, okay, a couple other things I would say I need to think about and talk about are trading on micro NASDAQ, which I think everyone knows is a heck of a roller coaster and it likes to get wicky. And I think you can see from the chart here lots of big wicks on the candles. Like this is a really good example in here. If you look in this area, I mean, look at little candle bodies, just giant wicks like that. I mean, you have to be prepared. Um, so maybe you adjust your stop um, where you've got like a good hard focused area where you want the stop, but maybe give it just a little extra room because uh, Nasdaq likes to go just a little bit beyond just to take out the people right there. But I have to do things within reason. I'm not going to take like the sell trade and put my stop way at the high of the day just to make a little bit of portion here because then you really move into like a negative risk to reward ratio um, and that's not really good for longer term profitability. So all right, so we're kind of in a holding pattern. We're waiting now. We're just going to see what price does here. So next 15-minute candle is going to end soon. I got a little timer here in the bottom right-hand corner. I know it's hard to see sometimes with the other stuff on here, but we got about 43 seconds until that ends. Now, a couple other points I'll bring up. Always looking for price to either show me continuation or maybe a reversal at certain times of the day. London loves to make reversals on the half hour and the hour time frame. So you can look for price to accelerate in either the direction you're thinking or opposite direction um, on the half hour time frame, but also can be on the hourly time frame. Um, so as we move through this, we'll see that a little bit more evident on things. So um, yeah, so you'll see me kind of just monitoring some other charts and looking at things. Like I said, I do look at other markets like gold. So I'm tracking that. I also keep an eye on oil. Uh, it kind of gives me an idea of how volatile things are in the market in general. Because gold and well, especially oil can move on world news, especially right now. And if oil is going crazy, then chances are, um, the other markets can start to react and pick up too. So that's that's one thing I do like to watch and monitor. So, all right. Okay. So, and some other things I like to look at time based. About 10 minutes to the hour till about 10 minutes after the hour. A lot of people call that like the algo times. Um, I think there might be some validity to that in terms of either trapping traders or uh, accelerating to keep momentum going at that point um, for the rest of the hour. Do I take trades based on that? No, but I really watch the clock to see what's the market doing around certain time frames. It's just important for me to monitor that. So, all right. Okay, give me a minute. I gotta check one chart here just to take a look at something. All right. Yeah, from time to time, you may see me kind of go off, like I said, on a few other charts. Just taking a peek at a few things here with gold. So gold pushing down right now. And really the concepts are the same for me. Gold, oil, it doesn't matter. So um, ideas are the same. Um, so get your direction of like where's price going. Look for some type of reaction, maybe at a certain key level. Look for continuation in a direction, but for me, like I said, not really out um, uh, looking for breakouts, but looking for the price to come back to where I want to get in and then continue. So, all right. Let's see what do we got here. So you can see, and I'm not basing total trade ideas off of lower time frame. Like I said, lower time frame is for me to like refine my better entries on higher time frame. But what you can start to see is, well, is the chart telling you who's in control? Um, we still have some time yet on like 1 hour. We've already looked at the daily, we've looked at the 4 hour, but the 1 hour is coming up. We're gonna have a new candle in about 10 minutes. And it's turning into just this massive doji, which interesting enough, if you look at the higher time frame and you look at a doji candle, what does that tell you? Well, it's probably going to be an indication that on lower time frame you're in sideways. You're in a build. It's not doing anything. So on higher time frame, if you see, bigger body candles moving, you're probably trending. If you start to see doji, small body candles, big wicks, lower time frame, you're probably in the sideways. This has always been like a good indication for me personally. Um, you know, do I want to trade the market? If I see doji bars on higher time frame, not my favorite. But how do I react? Well, now I have to think about if we're going to consolidate and go sideways in London, which, gosh, can happen. Can happen for hours. You kind of have to look and change your strategy, but the market has to show you this. The market has to give you some clues that it's going to do that. So right now, the clues are hourly candle, doji, meaning smaller time frame, all these charts, 15-minute, my entry charts, my refining chart, probably consolidating sideways, not a whole lot of trend, right? 30-minute, well, that's pretty much telling me the same because I have this doji here at London Open. It tried to push up, it couldn't. And right now it's starting to push back down, which gives me the doji bar on the 1 hour. And on the 30-minute, it's just showing me not a whole lot of direction, right? So that all plays out. Now, if you look at the 15-minute, it's kind of showing the same thing. So I've got my areas where I'm interested in selling. The little pushback up, and where are we at? Well, we're pretty much right back to the London Open price, right? And we're at the halfway point of the European range. So until the market tells me something, really, I don't have much of a trade for anything right now. So, but if I look at 5-minute, what is that telling me? Well, we have a fair value gap that was just made. And like I said earlier, fair value gaps on the smaller time frame, I like to look at those as like kind of your sign of who's in control. So right now, if you look at this, London opens, buyers push it up, they try to push it up again. Don't really succeed. Sellers come down, they push past these buyers. Now they push past these buyers and they made a gap. So small time frame, definitely in the momentum side of the sellers. All right. So, can I take advantage of that? Maybe. I have to see something on the higher time frame to really give me that clear indication. Yes, we're still moving down. Now, if I can get it on the higher time frame, but I can't find a good entry, maybe I'll start to look at lower time frame for an entry point in a general area. So what am I thinking? Let me highlight this. So you've got, like I said, sellers moved down, buyers came back up, now sellers pushing back down. So the area I'm interested in is basically kind of in this area, right? Which is your IB area. So it's this whole area, okay? So that'll area. So now I have to kind of think the same way here, where I'm thinking momentum down, I'm looking for entry back up here for momentum to continue down. Now, right now you can see the price definitely did a good job. Momentum down, came back up. It didn't get me in the trade, but so far my idea of what the chart is telling me is playing out. My expectations, and that's really, I think, important. A moment. I think that's super important to um, look at on charts and just what are you expecting? What do you think might happen? And kind of align that with expectations. So because the market likes to do kind of the same thing all the time, you really have to keep your expectations in check. If that makes sense. You know, would I take a trade just off of expectations or thinking? No. I have to have a clearly marked out chart area for me to think about that. So, all right, got 5 minutes until the new hour. And like I said, market likes to do certain things once it makes this initial balance, and kind of talk about that as we go. I do have the Europe initial balance in that purple, and I use that just kind of reference. I don't really trade off that, but I will trade off the London one. So the London initial balance, and that's kind of the key. So once that's completed here at the end of the hour, I'd probably look for some entries, but I'm really interested to see how that 15-minute closes. And 5-minute, because really, if you look at the 5-minute, going along the same idea of like, well, where did the buys, the short-term momentum for the buys come out of? Well, it kind of generated here. Price is at there. So does price get below this area? If it does, it tells me sellers are in pretty good control at the moment. So now, I might want to zoom in if these larger charts aren't going to give me any kind of good entry area. I need to go smaller. Would I go on a 1 minute, 2 minute and base everything off that? No, not really. 5-minute, I may consider something if I feel like the expectation is to still continue move down. Higher time frame is moving in that direction, then that's really my only option for an entry. But same rules are in play. I have to let price come to me. I'm not taking, breakout like for instance, if price gets here and it just starts moving down really fast. Nope. I'll let it move. I'll let it displace. I'll let it make its move, but I'll wait at an area for the price to come back and then continue its move down. So for me, it's a lot less emotional to do that, because if you're taking breakouts, you're going on just, to me, it's more of a gamble. It's like you don't really know how far the price is going to go. How far is it going to, I think people call it discovery, price discovery. How far will it travel in that breakout? No one knows. And I'd rather have it move out, do its little breakout, show me where the price ended, show me where maybe other people got involved, come back to my location, and then, well, let's go back there again. So that's kind of my plan. So I had a trade on gold, so I got to manage that one quick. So, you may hear me kind of moving back and forth. Like I said, I'm only trading micro Nasdaq, for this example, but I do trade gold on the side. Maybe in the future I'll load that up and show everyone, or trade a day where I'm just doing gold. But I want to stick with Nasdaq for YouTube. So yeah. All right, so kind of just monitoring right now. We'll see what happens here in the next minute. About 1 more minute, and then the IB range will be set. The reference targets will come in, so we can kind of see where those line up. Reference targets, it's just, I would say targets, those reference targets that are made are kind of targets for like bigger institutions. They like to go hit those areas. It's important for them to make their profits, and those are kind of what I've always seen has been good points for the market to push to. Now, whether the market reacts from there or continues pushing to the next target, you don't really know. Expectation is once the move starts, like in London, and goes to like a target, it's probably going to keep going until there's an area where you're going to have some type of reaction. So, um, all right. So let's see what happens. I'm going to let the new hour kind of shake out. You can see how the new hour starts to get a little crazy. The candles start moving up and down really fast. And lots of orders come in at the new hour. Same way on gold. So I'm watching that also on a different chart. And just for the record, gold was showing at least short-term momentum down. So I had kind of almost similar entry on gold, where uh, gold, at least short-term, pushed down, came back up, and I was waiting for a sell. So kind of watching that on a separate chart right now. Okay. So you can see we are getting that reaction down, top of the hour. This is a good sign here on the 15-minute. So you can see buyers tried to push up while sellers came right back down. They got below the buyers here. So momentum still down going into the new hour. We look at the 1 hour, looks pretty bad. Like this is still in my book like a doji bar, bigger candle, smaller body. So, for me, it doesn't really tell me much, Yeah, I still have to go momentum down because buyers don't show me anything on the 1 hour at all. So 4 hours still looks stronger down for sure. Okay, 30-minute. Okay, so you're hearing a trade I just took on gold. So, all right. Yeah. So that one won. That's cool. All right. Okay, let me get back to focus. Okay, so what are my expectations going into the new hour? Okay, momentum still down. 15 minutes shows me that. Perfect. What's my expectation? First expectation, they want to go hit this target, this 0.25 for London. But not only London, Europe wants to hit their target too, right? So what are some things in the way? Well, there's not much in the way. I do have one thing, and that's this first line, which is called gamma max. Well, what is that? That is where the most options are currently being traded for the day in the options market. Do I really rely on that as a trade, like entry point? Nope, not at all. What do I use this for? This is more like the first wall for price. Can momentum continue down and get past that? That's all that is for me. It's just like, how strong are the sellers? Well, let's see you close below that. Okay, you close below that. Okay, maybe we push down farther. You've got a bunch of targets here. There's really nothing else in the way. I do have down here, you can see right here, this, I don't know what color you want to call that, coral, coral color, this orangish color is a pivot. And these are just traditional pivots. They still hold value because people still use them. And you can see, at least here, S1, which is like support one, clearly was a barrier. There was a reaction when price first came down, but when it got through and price came back up, it couldn't get past it. So this support one is important. Well, where's the next one? Just like these reference targets, pivots kind of work the same way. So price wants to move down to which one? This one down here, which happens to be around Europe's 2.0 target, right? And then you also have more things down here, even lower. So my expectation is we're going to watch this 5-minute candle close and 15-minute. If the 5-minute can body close outside London's IB, then my expectation it hits target. If it wicks and the body closes back into the IB, my expectation is it will probably come back up to at least the halfway point before continuing back down. If it gets above halfway and closes above halfway, then I have to be ready that the price could move all the way to the top. And then we think about things kind of in reverse. So we think about price moving different direction. So yeah, so you can see this account I actually had copy traded from my other account from gold. That's why you're seeing the profit. So I'm keeping the profit on, not really for me, but more for YouTube, just so you can see whether or not my trades are working out or losing for the day. So that's really my goal. So you'll see that constant P&L be right there. So, all right, let me do this real quick. I'm going to turn those trades off just so I can focus on NASDAQ. I'm just looking at my copy trader. Okay, perfect. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, so I have a couple more trades on the board I'm looking at here. So, okay, so you can see, there's kind of a big difference. I was just talking about my expectations, body close outside. Well, my expectation, it goes down here, but you can clearly see what's the market doing. Not really doing my expectations at the moment. So I have to go off of what the chart's telling me. So if the 5-minute is not really fulfilling my expectation, and basically what I got was a little candle body close beyond the cyan line, the IB low of London, but I got a wick. I got a wick on Europe. So, and you can see right now, price clearly manipulating, doing just crazy stuff. So, this could very well be one of those moments I just talked about where the price loves to do crazy things. The move back to the POC, bam, in seconds. So give me a moment just to manage a couple other trades. So just got to make sure I'm out of those trades there. Okay. I was in one other gold trade. So plus I was in that. I'll tell you exactly what I had on another chart. So I'm talking on this one, so I didn't have it. But I basically had an entry on another chart, which was right here. I put my stop basically right above the high. And what I did was right like this. And when price came back, tagged me here and came back down and hit this midpoint. I don't know if you could see it because it was moving super fast, but it came up, tagged me in, came back to the midpoint. That's all it was. It was just a quick reaction. I'll show you an example. So I'm from here. So I'm just looking for the entry here, my stop here, first barrier, midpoint. And I just have one contract. So very tiny move. That was an example of a 5-minute entry supported by higher time frame, move down. But I didn't really have anything on the 15, right? But this is such a great example of London manipulation and craziness. You have to be prepared for it. I mean, you can clearly see I'm thinking the whole time. My expectation, momentum down. Momentum's moving down. New hour starts. looks like it's going to go down, and then wham, this move here. So we'll look at this, just this bar right here within 5 minutes moves, let's see, about 80 points. And you saw how fast that was. It was instantaneous. So I just have to make sure I'm not. So, second. Close out. All right. Close out there. Perfect. Okay. All right. I don't have any other trades on those charts at all, so nothing more going on there. I don't know if you could hear that noise. I don't know what that noise was. So, okay. Perfect. Okay. All right, let's get back to this. All right, because I'm hoping I can get a trade here. If I go over a little bit, I'll go past 5. I just put in my description that I want to trade 3 to 5, 2 hours. It's really kind of my goal. But if I go a little bit past that, just to show an example, I'll do that because I really want to get an entry. So right now, what am I thinking? I think this entry is still valid. You can see right now, buyers really tried to push up. They got all the way up here to, at least on this short term 5-minute chart, this shorter term 15-minute chart. And, I think it's really important on maybe not necessarily the wicks. Wicks are important, but it's also the bodies. Bodies and where they start and stop are really important. And if I look at this 15-minute, buyers tried to push up at London Open, and they did. They pushed up higher. And sellers came in, they pushed all the way down. But if you look at kind of the main chunk of the move, more of the bodies, they were able to move a little lower than the buyers were able to start from. So, and then another indication right now, and we're going to see, what does the chart say? Buyers had this crazy move up, almost went the entire move of the whole 1 hour of London, first hour, in just like a matter of what, maybe a minute. But they couldn't sustain it so far. They couldn't sustain it. 1, 2, they couldn't get above where this move down started. And so 5-minute maybe shows that move clearly than the 15, because the 15's more sideways wicky. And the 30-minute really doesn't show you too much other than we're just sideways. And of course, 1 hour not showing too much yet. So we still got a lot of time on that. All right, so now what are my expectations? Now I'm going to watch the 5-minute candle, and I want to see, like I was mentioning earlier, do we get a body close above this halfway point of London? And another interesting fact, check this out. You see the London, or sorry, not London, but the European initial balance. You see the midpoint is right there in purple. Here, I can bring it up so you can see a little bit better on the 5-minute. Here's the halfway point of Europe right here. Here's the halfway point of London. So what does that tell you? It gives you a good indication you're in a sideways build. So maybe the best thing to do is play both sides. How do you do that? Well, just like in the using Fibonacci, if I go from the high to low, you see the 50% of that. That is your like value border, right? Below it, cheap, above it, expensive. Probably a good way to think about it. Price stays in this area, this zone. I'm going to look to sell up here. I look to buy down here. Where's my target? Probably the halfway point. Halfway point is a good first target. And I would say this halfway point has some validity because it was the halfway point for both Europe and London. So now, expectations. Here we go. Buyers got back up here. They closed above the 50% halfway. Not only that, they made a fair value gap, right? And they closed this one, but they couldn't get above this one. So we're getting some very mixed signals on lower time frame. So, does this give me clear direction? No, not really. But what does it tell me? It tells me that maybe the buyers have a little bit more control right now because they were able to get above that halfway point of both markets. So my expectation now is possibly they go to the very top and they try to challenge the very top of the initial balance of not only London, but of Europe. That's where my sell entry is. So based on what I'm thinking, and if it all plays out, my thinking is that the market is going to stay range consolidation. So sell up here, buy down here. And you can kind of see when markets start to consolidate, what are they going to do? They're going to drop a lot of volume in this, and you may start to see this volume area low in the 68% value area start to push down, lower, 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 until this area becomes in value, or even the POC where most contracts have been traded for the day moves down here. Which once that happens, usually the market will use that as a launching point. Direction unknown. You have to wait for the chart to tell you what direction it wants to go in. But it's all like just more information, more things to watch. So what we're seeing right now, more sideways move, more building. This is interesting right here. What happens right here? This could be an entry depending on how things play out. What am I thinking? Okay, one, if the sellers come in strong and they close this fair value gap, and this turns into an inverse, could be a good area to get involved in to take it short, try to take it to this target. If this holds and the sellers can't get it back down below the halfway point, then I may be looking for some type of move up, reversal back, and then to buy it up to at least the next target would be London IB high. You also have the S1 pivot up there is also another target. But these are also the walls. These are where price maybe can or cannot get through. So for now, I will keep my entry here, and we'll see if we get the reaction I'm thinking. So what did price do here on the 15-minute? Really not super clear. Yeah, it looks like buyers at control. We did wick everything on the 15-minute down here. So, any buyers that were down here, they all got wicked out here. Took out all these people here. That anybody buying in here was all taken out with that wick down. And funny enough, this huge bar up probably took some sellers that had orders up here. So, right now, yeah, it's looking pretty strong. My entry, we'll have to wait and see what we get. There we go. I got to make sure I'm on the right account. Okay. Here we go. Okay. So we'll have to just kind of wait and see if I do get tagged in here, what kind of reaction do I get? Where do I put my stop loss, all that good stuff. We have to wait and see. So, okay. Just looking at another chart here real quick. The same kind of idea, same kind of chart, a little bit different views of some things. Maybe give me a little more information, maybe not. Um, Hard to say right now with the market. One moment, I have to change one quick thing on this chart I'm looking at. Yeah, that 5 minutes kind of interesting because you can see how the buyers went all the way back up to where the sellers started that move down on both the 5 and 15. But the challenge of that area, the buyers couldn't get above it. So we might be in for more consolidation and sideways. And they probably go back to the midpoint right now. But that's an I think. But my expectation is if the buyers can't push that up and out, the sellers, my expectation would be to take that back to the midpoint and then make another decision of direction. So let's see. Change one thing on my copier settings. Okay, so what are we doing? You can clearly see buyers are having trouble pushing this up. And, partly I can say right now, because of the momentum being down, that's definitely in factor, that's in play. And it's kind of playing out and showing itself right now. A lot of people would look at this and say, man, that's a really strong move up. I'm taking this breakout. You can, but just like I was talking about earlier, in days past, I would look at this and say, wow, they're clearly moving up. I'm buying right here. I'd buy the top and then this would happen. Literally, it would stop right there and move back down. How far does it move back down? If you took the breakout, well, 88 ticks. So 22 points down, depending on size and how much risk you have in a trade, that could be significant. 1 micro, not a big deal, but a lot of people trade minis. 22 points, that's $440. So quite a bit. All right, so we'll see what happens here. So buyers couldn't get past. You can see they couldn't get a good close above this move down. So expectation 5 minute, we're back. Probably going to be thinking about going back to at least the midpoint. Could be a good decision area there to decide, what's going to happen with the rest of our time this morning if I can get a trade. Now, if we're staying in consolidation and price is going to just hover around this middle area for a while, what are some ideas you could do? Well, you'd be going against higher time frame momentum at least on like 15-minute. The only thing you would maybe have is, well, this push up. So what could you do? Let me draw my little pointer line. This area here, this fair value gap, because the price moved up, pretty good force here, momentum. You could look for a buy entry. Maybe you get a reaction from this. At least it'd have to be a small target though, because this move up that the buyers made, they really didn't show a whole lot. Yeah, they pushed up, but they couldn't get even above the sellers here. So the buyers had some strength, but to me, maybe that strength ran out, So you could do a buy here, but in my eyes, it's very risky because the whole morning I've been talking about move down, momentum down. So if you take the buy, you're going against higher time frame momentum. You're just hoping that the price stays sideways, consolidated, and you're going to play both sides. But even if you take that, play both sides, you're going to take sells up here, buys down here. If your entry is somewhere in this area, your stop is going to absolutely need to go below where the buy started. So, you're looking maybe behind this candle that started, you're looking around $70. I mean, it's not a lot just to play it and see. But if you lose that, 1 micro, it's not anything. 1 mini, it's a little bit more of a commitment. So it'd be more like $670 to go below there. If you went all the way to the low, you're talking, on a E-mini, about 870, on a micro 87. But if the price moves down, gets below the halfway point, gets below this fair value gap, my expectation then is it's absolutely going to come all the way back down to these IB low areas, and definitely throw a challenge in on the buyers that push this up right here. If they take the buyers, my expectation then is if they get past this gamma, I'll call it a wall, they get past this, it's going to go to the target. So, and if it looks strong to continue down, they'll keep hitting all these targets down. But right now, what we're seeing as I'm watching things play out here. So 15 minutes getting close to closing. We'll have a new 30-minute candle. 30-minute candle right now looks strong, but still hasn't got even above this last down candle here. We'll see where the body closes. And it's the same thing on 15. Like I said, we always have to watch what happens at the half-hour point. So you got about 15 seconds. Half hours can be crazy. They can be pushes in a direction that you're not expecting, but they can also be like continuations of your momentum. So we'll see if it plays out. I think it's more of a factor in gold than NASDAQ, but I definitely see reactions with time on NASDAQ. So, all right. So this 5 minute candle doesn't really tell me much. It doesn't tell me buyers really did much. It doesn't tell me the sellers did much, right? So we're kind of stuck in this area. And it's the same thing on the 15 minute. You know, I was looking at, say I'm looking for a buy. I'm looking for those buyers to at least get past this area, get past all this pressure down, you know, move up here, close up here, show me. Buyers right now, not showing me a whole lot. We'll have to see. So 30-minute candle, yeah, you've got this. Let me come in here and we'll look at this a little closer. So if you look at the, you know, momentum down, we were going sideways. This big green candle comes up and looks super strong. But caution before taking any kind of buys. My pause is that this candle closed up here, but it still couldn't get above this whole area. So if you look at from the top of this wick to the bottom of that wick, this is like your consolidation zone, and you can see this volume profile building out. Whenever a volume profile looks like a bell curve, you know, where you start to see this kind of circular look, you're probably in consolidation. So what it's telling me is we're just going to play around in this box, probably until the end of London or going into New York. And then, of course, New York will probably do whatever London does, but opposite. So, you know, that seems to happen an awful lot. So, all right. So I'm just throwing out different thoughts, different options. It's kind of what my mind thinks of when I'm trading. You know, I'm looking for more evidence. Do I still like this trade that I'm in, you know, waiting on? Yeah, I mean, so far the buyers really haven't shown a huge move up. I would be more worried with like just a non-stop crazy push up. I would probably take that sell off and I would probably go higher. I would go up here to where the sellers really started this big move down. But all the evidence I'm seeing on the chart right now, at least now, is that we're kind of building this volume down here. And POC right now is up here. If they bring that price back down here and keep building, they're going to move this point of control where all the contracts are traded to this area. And then price is going to move and build this area out a little more. And then from there, they'll probably make the move. So that value area low has held still. That has not changed. Let me hit refresh on the chart here. Let's see if that updates. No, it's still the same. But as they build out more volume down here and stay sideways, this will move down. So, and usually that's kind of the trigger. How can I explain it? The trigger that the markets need to make a bigger move. So, all right. So we'll keep watching this here. Okay, so what am I thinking right now? Got to see what this 5 minute candle does. You know, does this 5 minute candle, what does it do with this? I'll call it slop right in here, this area. Right? This is like my first area of really interest. Can the price break out of this area above and hold it and stay, keep moving? or does the price break out and hold below it? If it breaks out, goes below, expectation continue down. Breaks out above, expectation continue up. I'm still counting on potentially reactionary area based on 30-minute fair value gap from here that has not been touched yet. So I still feel like sellers are in this area. I get at least some kind of reaction down. How far that goes, I don't know. That would probably be something I would want to really watch and manage. And if I start to see like buyers come in strong ahead of me, I may think about getting out earlier. Or they just, take me to the stop. But, I don't give up until the chart tells me that the momentum has changed and we're clearly moving up. I'm still in higher time frame momentum sell. And if this area here on the 15 does not work out, then my next sell area is here. If price gets past there and continues moving up, then I will adapt, and my thinking, my mode will change to a buyer. So yeah, that's kind of what we're looking at right now. I put on the 1 minute chart just to see if there was anything to really look at. And 1 minute is just so noisy in my view that it's really hard to tell anything from that chart. 2 minute, does that say much? Well, there was a couple fair value gaps made. Kind of works the same with that 5 minute. So yeah, and all it pretty much tells me is that the buyers were in control here. Fair value gaps on smaller time frames, do they hold? I don't know how much importance they hold. I don't really trade off them. Like I said, I use these more as like indications for who's in control, at least short term. So a couple green buy type fair value gaps. Yeah, it confirms that move up, that was buyers. But overall, if I look at the chart, at least on 2 minute, you can see there's lots of red fair value gaps, which help support the momentum down. And those fair value gaps also show up on higher time frames, which support the momentum down also. Yeah, because this 30-minute fair value gap could also technically be drawn up to here on the 1 hour, and how do you want to use that or take that? Let's see. I can mark that out. Technically, it would be up in this area. Which if you look at that, I think you have more of like a traditional order block type entry. This green candle up is kind of more your, I want to call it traditional order block that so many people teach and talk about. So let's see. I'm gonna move this back. Actually, let me delete that out. I'll just leave my entries on there so you can see. I don't want to clutter up the chart too much. I wasn't too interested in that middle entry. If I'm going to enter, it's going to be here and here. This would be an average in to bring my entry to about there. All right, so we're in. Okay, so what am I looking at for target? Let's see what price does. For now, price moving up. If this closes above IB range of London and IB range of Europe, I think first target is definitely expectation. we just have to see if price continues to move up higher, you know, expectations can change on my target. But for now, I'll put my target down here at the midpoint, which is an area that likes to get touched many times. And you can see that just from the price action today, how many times that midpoint's been hit. I'm not, let me adjust my stop just one time here. It's just a little bit off. Okay, I'm not going to move my stop at all. If my stop moves, it only moves closer to the price. It never moves far away. Don't drag my stop. So dragging the stop is taking on more risk, right? I can always move my stop to break even, which, you know, shorter time frame, you know, that could be smart to maybe do that. You can see right now, just from here, we did get a reaction from this entry point, which is, remember, it's on the 30-minute chart. It's a first touch of a fair value gap, but it's also the same on a 1 hour fair value gap. You can see right here, right? So we're getting a reaction from that. So in the way I look at these on the higher time frame is, you know, this push down, there's still sellers in this area. And I would expect that they push it down. Now what I need to do is just manage the chart. Let's see, you know, can I manage this for profit, or is this going to be something where, you know, I'll take a stop? I don't know. We just have to see how the price plays out. As we get closer to the last hour here of trading, you know, we'll manage it. We'll watch what happens. We'll see, are the sellers able to get some control, push that back down? A couple things I have working for me. Higher time frame momentum still down. On the 15-minute, buyers have to get above this pivot, which has been kind of an area of reaction. They have to get above the initial balance range of Europe, right? They did get above, at least on the 5-minute chart, they got above London. But you can see one thing, they did the same thing down here. They got below London and they worked it out to get to the top. So now they got above London. You know, do they bring it back into the range and to the halfway point? Maybe. Do they continue moving up? We don't know. We just have to wait and see. And the chart is going to give us kind of the roadmap on that. So, like I said, my stop on this entry will be right in this area. I will have another entry here. Where would I think about targeting if I enter here? My average will be, you know, somewhere in this area. My target would probably move to around this area, would be a return to the IB high or to get back to this pivot. Could be targets on reaction. It's kind of funny, and this happens a lot. My stop for this first trade is kind of my entry on this trade up here. So we just got to wait and see what happens. So if I take a stop, I may end up re-entering fairly quickly if smaller time frame shows me that sellers are stepping back in. I'll get back in for another sell. But if buyers keep pushing, you know, and they want to challenge this up here, my stop is definitely in jeopardy on that one. So, all right. Continue to watch and monitor. Okay, so buyers were able to push up and out of London, push up and out of IB range, Europe. Expectation, first target for London. Probably next expectation continuing, get up first target for Europe. If they continue, I feel like we had a good push down here, momentum down. So my next entry is going to be right around here, which will average me in, and I'm going to be looking for the sellers to, hopefully step back in. If they don't, and my stops hit here, I'm looking to enter back up in this area for a sell for another attempt. So that's the plan. That's kind of what I do. I try to think about things more logically, roadmap them out. So I've got a plan of, if this happens, this is what I'll try to do. So, but for now, you can see, we are starting to get some buyers stepping in. Like I talked about at the very early part of this morning, this whole volume profile will probably be all filled in by New York. So, price is going to wander around here. This will all build out. It'll look different. I wouldn't be surprised to see price back up around the VWAP, closer to New York Open. POC probably somewhere around VWAP. Those are really key levels. Oh, and you know what? I should mention a couple other things that you may see on the chart. I have this yellow line up here. Let me open up the 15. This yellow line is the open, Asia Open for the day. And then this purple line is like the close of the last trading day. I know it's really hard to see. 370 purple, there's a dashed purple line right here. It's the close of yesterday where the market ended. And the yellow line, which is 392.25, was where the market opened in Asia. The market absolutely loves to come back to those throughout the day at some point. And it will even come back to those throughout the week. So if the price doesn't come all the way back up here today, you can pretty much bet that some point during the week, it will come back and touch this area. Just been, I don't have an actual percentage on how often that happens. But I can say it happens at a very high level. But yeah, putting a number on it, I don't really have a number, but back testing, I would say it's higher 80% level that those usually get filled within a few days. So, all right, so we're watching price coming up here. We got 2 minutes before that 10-minute mark that I talked about, where people say algos kick in. So chances are in 2 minutes, we're going to either see a significant power push up, or we'll see kind of a retrace back down into the IB ranges. The fact that the 5-minute made another fair value gap right here is important. It's just a piece of information, can the sellers move down, get past this, inverse this? Then I like my target getting hit. If sellers come back, touch this, and then they move and push it out, well, I have to manage my trade. So my plan still enter in one more contract here to average in a little bit better price for a reaction to stay with momentum down. All right, got about 20 seconds left on this 5-minute. And kind of a key thing too, like it doesn't really show itself on higher time frame, but like 5-minute chart, you see how there was this push down and then a little push back up and push down. Well, that this area in here is pretty important, because buyers stepped in here, but they couldn't bring it back up to this higher level. So I know that there's sellers around this area, and they're going to try to defend. They're going to try to push the price back in. We'll see if these sellers in this area are not strong enough to keep it down, then my stop most likely would get hit. But I would just manage my trade and hopefully be able to get maybe a smaller target. We just have to wait and see what happens. All right, so we're 10 minutes before the hour. It's always a good time to see what happens. Does a side start to get trapped? For the next hour. It's funny how a lot of things happen right towards the end of the hour. And I will say, over the years of trading London, that the next hour coming up, so it'd be 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, has in the past always been kind of a time frame for reversal, market reversal. So you can kind of take what London's been doing, like the first 2 hours of the market, and at 10 a.m., for whatever reason, there's a high likelihood that the market can reverse. Of course, it can continue just to keep pushing up, but it can also be a time where, if the buyers have hit targets in the market prior to 10 a.m. Eastern, or sorry, not 10 a.m. Eastern, I'm thinking my current time, 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If the buyers can come up, they hit some targets. 5 a.m. Eastern can be a reversal off these targets to bring it back down. And it looks like, they may do that right here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. I'll drop in my second entry here, and we'll just see. We'll see how this pans out. It's not super high level risk. These are only micros. I'm looking at where I put my stop. It's like about 101, right? So I average in with this entry, it's 55. It brings my entry level to right around here. So, total cost on this, right around $155 risk. That's definitely within my risk level. I don't like to go crazy. I don't like to risk super high level amount on my trades. I used to be a trader where before I found a super mentor, I would trade an account like I had 3 trades. And what it would be is pretty high level risk on first trade. If that trade failed, I come in double risk. If that trade failed, last one would be all in. So 3 trades, if you get 3 losers in a row, account's gone. And I did that with real accounts. I did it with practice accounts. It was a highly emotional time. Now, this is just a Bullnox 50K evaluation that I wanted to do for this YouTube. My thought is if you have, like $2,500 in drawdown to work with, and say my average trade risk is around 200, it's going to give me 10 to 12 trades roughly. you know, if you started adding in commissions, maybe around 11 trades, I guess. If I have a $200 budget, give or take, gives me about 11 trades to work with. I would have to lose all 11 in a row to lose the account. Now, I like those chances a heck of a lot better than 3 shots and I'm out. So I'll probably stick with you just a little bit longer just to see how this does play out. So you can see from the 5-minute chart, with 5 minutes left to go before the hour, London was able to come up and touch their 0.25 target. Let's see what kind of reaction we get off here. You know, a lot of times that can be it. And in a small range day, not uncommon to see London hit this target, and then next hour reverse, come all the way down and hit this target. Happens a lot. So yeah, all we can do is wait and manage and see what the market's going to do. What I'm hoping for, what I'm looking for, is that, you know, we get a good reaction down. Sellers can get below this last push of buyers. If sellers can get below here, right, and you can get like a micro shift, or like a little bit of a change of character and a move down, you know, I could see the price coming back to at least that mid-level. If not, the actual 50% of the IB range, you can see in here, I have a 50% of the range of London market so far, which puts it right about 78.50. So, but a lot of it has to do with what's price going to do here. Are sellers going to step back in, show some strength? If they do, you know, I'm going to leave my target kind of in this area. If sellers are weak, buyers take over again for the next hour. I'm going to look to target something a heck of a lot closer, you know, high of an IB range or something. You know, and I probably get out for maybe small profit. And that's kind of the goal of my trading. So let me refresh that screen because I don't see my, there it is. Oh, that's funny. My Europe IB range was on there. I refreshed and now it's just my London. All right, I'll leave it. London's more important. I can monitor Europe from this one. So, all right. Let's see, what's the hourly? So, you know, on the hour, it's looking pretty strong, you know. 30-minute, we got to see. You know, when this closes in 1 minute, you know, do the buyers still continue to look strong here, or do they, you know, retract? Do they come back down around this pivot? They come back down around this pivot, then you know, maybe the buyers aren't as strong as what my expectations are right now. But buyers are showing a little bit on the 1 hour. You know, that's a good push up. 4 hour, you know, still hasn't really shown a whole lot yet. So daily, you know, it's kind of hard to see still sellers controlling that. All right, so we got about 30 seconds. You can still see price hovering right around my entry. You know, my overall expectations still down from higher time frame. So even though the buyers have pushed this up, We're going to see if the overall momentum wins or short-term momentum wins. And when I talked about this area over here being important, the buyers were able to come up. They could only kind of wick this area. They couldn't close this area. So it's very close to this situation that happened in London with the initial balance. You know, the buyers originally couldn't do anything here, so they had to come back down and then push back up. So, but start of new hour, and like I mentioned, this new hour, which is 10 o'clock for me in London time, but 5 a.m. Eastern time, can always be a really big reversal in the London market. And we're kind of starting to see that play out a little bit. The fair value gap that's here, you know, they're fighting over that right now, right? So either buyers or sellers are going to win here. The sellers win, I like my target here. Buyers win, they probably will, my expectation will be they come up, they push, they hit the Europe 1.25 target. They come up here to the 1.5 target on London. I've got my entry kind of in the middle of those two. Then I'd be looking for a bigger seller reaction to come down. So, but yeah, this is a highly fought after area right here at the high of the IB high. So we'll see who can win this area. Will probably be, how can I explain it? A precursor to if this trade wins or loses. So buyers win. You know, my trade's probably a little more in jeopardy. I'd hope to get out for a small profit. Sellers win. You know, I feel pretty good that I could at least get that midpoint as a target. But we'll see. It looks like sellers having some trouble. So on these fair value gaps, you know, like on the 5, they really need to be closed through to show they're not valuable anymore. So like a wick through tells me buyers were able to hold and defend that. So, you know, total battle zone right here. The sellers were able to step in, move a little bit lower than the buyers that were in this candle. So super important point right there, right here. Also, you can see the value area, like I talked about earlier, has now moved down. Value area earlier when we first started this morning was up here. Now, because more time, more people have traded down in this area, that value area, the 68% of where things have been traded, has started to move down a little bit. So, all right, so we'll see what happens. Kind of another key point right here. Can the buyers get above this little push of sellers? If they do, then, you know, I'll probably get my entry here. Where am I going to look to take profit? It's probably going to be this battle zone area would be my first thought. If the price, you know, is having like big problems even getting past here, I may take just a smaller loss. You know, I really don't want to see my stop get hit, but like I said, that's also my second entry is up there too. So yeah, I'll stick with you to the end of this trade and probably wrap it up for the day. And I would ask, you know, if you're watching today or watching this video in the future, it's a brand new channel for me. I'm going to try to give out as much information as I can with my trading. You know, you can support me, just thumbs up, subscribe, you know, use a code. A code I have would be nice. I have a few with Bull Knox Blue Sky funded next. I'm only going to put up codes with companies that I feel comfortable with and that I know pay out. If there's drama or controversy with companies, I don't want to recommend them. So for now and in the future, I'll only have a few. But it's going to be the companies that I know from personal experience. They've been good. So, yeah. All right. So now what are we seeing? Price moved up, hit the 125 of euro, and seeing a reaction off of that. That's a big point too. Can the price get above Europe's 125? This is like super critical area in here because it tends to give me a lot of indication of where is at least short-term price may be headed. 125s are kind of like step one of target level for the day. Now it's okay. How high do we want to go next? Maybe it can go there to the 1.5. That's really the area where I'm looking for a bigger reaction. Obviously, if it gets up to this area for Europe, my stop's in jeopardy up here, but this is also going to be second entry point for me up there. And then what I'd be looking for is, quite a bit of a deeper sell, because if I look at higher time frame, this big kind of move down, a sell out of here. I mean, my expectation is that it's going to sell all the way back down and continue that direction of movement. So let's see. On that next entry, if it does get up here, if my stop gets hit, I'd probably look to put my stop. It's not a really great area. My stop would be up right around VWAP, and price loves to come touch VWAP. So, all right. So now all I can do is really manage the trade. Buyers are looking strong. They came up, they touched here. Let's see if sellers can really do anything. I'm going to keep my target where it's at for now. But if the sellers, come down here and they can't hold it, then that's probably where I'm going to move my entry to at least break even. Try to prevent a complete stop up. So that's kind of my plan. So I'm going to take these entry areas off. So like I said, if the price was to do a quick move up, hit my stop, then what am I looking for? I'm going to go to smaller time frame, and I'm going to look for a reaction out of the area of like the 30-minute, 15-minute. And if I can see the sellers maybe starting to come back in, that's probably where I'm going to get in for another sell. Because I'm not really prepared to go against higher time frame momentum yet. So the buyers still have to show me, they want total control and they want to take this all the way back up. So, and could happen. All right, so we're coming to the end of 10 minutes after the hour, which sometimes can be another like ignition point to continue pushing, but can also be a time of a trap in London. And what do I mean by a trap? Like in this case, the trap would be more like looking at a little bit of a shorter term. Here, the trap, not necessarily for sellers, but the trap would be for buyers. If the sellers can step back in right now and push this down, then you've got at least these buyers would be hurting. And if momentum kicks back in down here, these buyers would start to sweat a little bit because the price is starting to move back down against them. So whether or not that happens, we'll have to see. So is it playing out? We don't know until the candles actually form and show us. Let's see. No, 1 minute, 2 minute doesn't really show much. Let me go back to 5. Let me see if I can explain this a little bit. So here you can see the buyers were in control. They came up, they pushed it all the way up here, and then sellers pushed it all the way down, and the candle closed here. So kind of my thoughts on this is that you still have buyers here that are probably still holding this trade to move back up, but the sellers took it all the way down. And maybe the buyers, God only knows how deep their stop loss is. But I'd be willing to bet that, the buyers that moved up here, if they weren't taken out with this move down, they may have stop losses way down here, like way down here low, right? Well, sometimes what the trap is the buyers are moving all the way up and they're thinking, man, we're doing good. I'm like here on break even, right? These buyers who have stops way down here got price all the way back up here, and now we're at break even. And oh no, look at now the sellers are starting to step back in. Maybe I'll just take break even. I sat through all this, got back to break even. Now I'm going to sell my contract. So this is kind of where some of the trap starts to happen, because recent buyers who are here, stops here, this push up, you got buyers here, you got this push up, you got buyers here. If sellers can start to take control here, then buyers are going to start to feel some pain, start to feel trapped, right? Sellers, as they move lower, these buyers will start giving up their orders, and then the sellers will start to gain momentum and really move it. That can happen sometimes. Whether it happens today, don't know. But sometimes this is what the price action can start to look like, when that's starting to happen, big push up, and then it kind of stalls. And where it stalls is like, if you look to the left on your chart in history, where's the last move that pushed up and stalled? Well, it's right here. And we're kind of in that same area, if I had to mark it out, it's all in this area, right? So if sellers gain control and they get below here strong, then they will absolutely want to challenge the midpoint. And that's kind of my thinking. That's what I'm holding on for right now, is we're going to see here probably pretty quickly, can the sellers get some control back, start to push this back down, start to get momentum back on their side, or do the buyers hold this? So this is really, I think, a key time. But the chart has to show you that too. A lot of what I'm seeing is more on the 5 minute. And the reason why I'm looking at the 5 minute for some early indication of return to momentum is because the higher time frame really isn't showing me much yet. Like on the hour, yeah, we had this big move up, but we're in the middle of fair value gap. 30 minute, we're dead center in a fair value gap, and that's where my order is, my average order. And just like I was talking earlier, a fair value gap, especially on higher time frame, the power of that fair value gap, in my mind, is still going to remain if the price can't close beyond that fair value gap to basically erase it. If it just wicks through it, yeah, I probably wouldn't take a trade off of it in the future. But that tells me that the side that made that fair value gap is still in control. And that's what we're watching kind of play out right now, right here. This 30-minute candle. Buyers pushed up, couldn't close above this fair value gap. Now we're at the middle. Now, do the sellers come back in and defend this area, push it back down? That's what I'm waiting to see, and that's what I'm trying to manage. So, what I hope happens is that, they've hit targets, London, 125. I'm hoping they're happy with that, and I'm hoping they push back down. It's not really expectation at this point, but what I would like to see is that this candle right here, this push up, that the sellers can at least come back down and test this area, right? And see, buyers still want to try to take it up higher, or are they going to give up? Now, for my management of my trade, that's a really key area, because if the sellers get past there, I feel pretty good on my target. If the buyers hold this, then they're probably coming all the way up higher. So what am I going to do? And this is a management option I'm going to take, is if I see the sellers push this down to around this area, I would say around the 16, 17 area, I'm going to move my stop to break even. And either I walk away with 0 or I wait and hopefully the sellers really step back in, they pull it all the way down, and I can manage that. If sellers can really step it in, then I may end up trailing my stop, and I'll push out my take profit all the way down here to the bottom initial balance reference. But someone has to show me something. We're about 15 minutes past the hour. Price is just kind of hanging at this reference target on the initial balance, and we're gonna see here probably pretty soon if sellers want to come back in or buyers want to continue up. And I would say at this point, if buyers want to step back in and push it up, my stop's probably going to get hit. But I'd also look at potentially another entry on a sell. What my target would be at that point, I don't know. I'd have to look at the chart and see, like what makes sense. But we still have like a minute left here on the 5-minute. And on the 5-minute, at least short term, I'd love to see the sellers kind of get past this real nasty doji bar. Like if the sellers can get past here and hold down this area, I think next stop is going to be a challenge down here. Which there's a lot here, because you've got the start of this last push up. You also have a pivot. You got IB high. You got IB high for Europe here at the 20s. I mean, there's a lot going on right there. So for me, a little bit more of a push down, and I'll move my stop to break even. So if it hits, there it is right there. Okay. So we're gonna go like break even, what, +1? It'll be 23.75. That'll cover cover my little commissions on 2 micros maybe. And we're just gonna play it out. Now we just manage it, right? Break even trade. We're gonna see. Buyers come back up. They hit that. I'm out for a few pennies. But now if sellers can really come in, step it up and push it down, you know, I'd move my target all the way down to that down there. You know, they came so close to hitting that target down there. That 125, and they couldn't do it. That's now my target. So, and how am I going to work this? How am I going to manage this? If the sellers step back in, momentum starts to move back down, and I don't get taken out right here, I will look for 5-minute candle closes, and I'll start to move my stop down lower, just above like candle close. So give you an example. If this candle closed right here right now, I would move my stop just above how high the buyers could get right here. So like I'd move it maybe half a point above this candle. So, if it was 24.25, it would look like 24.75 is where I move my stop. I just continue to trail based on candle closes. And that's really all I can do is hope that the initial assessment of momentum down is correct. But this is NASDAQ. Anything can change in a second. So we'll see if it plays out. We'll see. It would be great if this candle closes right around here, then I can move my stop down a little bit, try to grab a little more profit. But so far, most of my expectations are playing out. My original, I guess you could say, bias or expectation was momentum down. But you never know how high the market needs to come back up to continue that momentum down. And that's kind of the basis of this entry of what I took is I'm looking for areas on the chart where the moves down were like strong. And that needs to be like my entry point. I can't just randomly pick a spot that says, well, if I look at a 5-minute chart, hold on. If I look at a 5-minute chart and, if this is all I saw and, the initial move starts here and then the buyers bring it up and then they push back down. I can't just say, well, this was a strong candle here. I'll get in, right around here. Or I'll do something if the price comes back up. Well, you can see if I entered in like right in this area, I mean, price came up strong and I would have been quite a bit of drawdown in this area, this move up. And if I would have held that thing for a long time, expecting this target down here, wow, I would have really missed out right here. And then this big push up would have really put the heat on me. Do I keep this short trade or not? So I try to use some common sense in terms of where I'm getting in. I'm looking for kind of clear areas. I don't want like consolidation. I want clear, clean moves. So like as I look at this, just the 5-minute chart, as we're coming to a close soon. So if the sellers can keep this down, you'll see I'll move my stop just above this 5-minute candle. And that's my plan. We're just gonna hope the sellers keep the control Don't let the buyers get above the last candle, and let's see how far we can take it. um, so let me manage that here in just a few seconds. So we got 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay. So, and that's interesting because the sellers put a fair value gap on. So that tells me there is some sellers there. We got a little bit of control. Let's see what is 24. Yes, we'll go there. We'll go half a point above that 5-minute candle. So, I've locked in. Yeah, it's nothing spectacular. It's like about 8 points. And I will just keep doing this. So if the sellers really push now, we're gonna end up moving this down lower. We'll get just above this candle. If the buyers come back up, they touch this fair value gap. Well, I'm out of the trade, but like I like I was telling you, small profits. Um, avoid a full stop if I can. Right now, I'm just managing the trade. There's things I want to see. Love to see this 5-minute get below this last push up of buyers and trap these people, because I feel like the next move are going to be the buyers that are right in this area with their stops, right? And the sellers, if they get past this next stop, midpoint, all the buyers sitting right there that bought that halfway point of that IB range, that's going to be the next point that will be challenged. Who wins it? You don't know. You know, sellers could get down here right now and challenge right here, and the buyers step in right here because there's buyers here. This is where they reacted from and pushed it up, right? And they got into an area where sellers were waiting. So now we've got this sideways battle right here. So, all right. So I was talking about like entries, um, clear entries. So, if I'm thinking I might buy this, I'm gonna look for, like, where did the move start from, and were they able to do something, you know? Um, because if that move of where, say, the buyers or sellers got in, if they weren't able to like accomplish something, like, hey, let's change the momentum, or let's go to a solid target. If they can't do that, then it really starts to make me think like that might not be a good place for a reaction, or the strength of the sellers or buyers in that area may not actually be strong, continuing to be strong. Maybe most of them took their profit and they're not there anymore, and that could very well be that, the buyers that stepped in down here, maybe they took their profit up here. You know, these reference targets, these 1, 2, 5 area, those are kind of key levels, not only in Europe or London, but New York. That's like one of the hottest things on YouTube is other traders doing IB trader setups, IB breakouts, orb breakouts, and things like that. Like I said, I don't really do the breakout stuff. Would it have worked? Probably on this one, at least. You had this push out on the buy here, to come back. They hold it, boom, here's your IB target 1 for London, IB target 1 for Europe. So, okay, that breakout worked. But I can show you another example where it didn't work, and that's down here. So you've got Europe IB, you've got London IB. They break out of London. And so first expectation, if you're going to do a breakout trade, they're going to take it to the first target. Didn't work. Didn't work. You got smoked, especially if, you took a sell somewhere around here and you watch that price shoot up in a minute, and suddenly, you're in profit. So you enter like in this area on a breakout. you know, you're in profit by like 15 points, 15, 16 points. And then this candle shows up. And if you were with me earlier, you saw this was like 1 minute. So you're 15 points in profit here. And then suddenly you're like 70 points negative in like 1 minute. So that's why I don't do breakouts. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Okay, 5-minute candle close, and I'm going to lock in more profit. So I'm going to bring it down, and we're going to go half point above the 5 minutes, 17, 18. Yeah, so I guess right. All right, so now locked in 15 points, 2 micros. Yeah, it's not a lot, but you know, it's a way to keep me trading. Okay, so you can see price spiked up, but took that out. Trading with a lower size with micros. Yeah, it's not like I'm gonna be able to pull in, you know, thousands of dollars on my trades. Maybe I can sometimes, especially when the market's really moving. But you can see in London market, play small, uh, keeps your emotions down, keeps your emotions in check. You know, you can lose a trade. It's really not a big deal because like you can see this trade was like $150 risk, somewhere around there. I managed it exactly how I wanted to manage it. I'm happy sticking to the rules. Um, you know, how much was the profit on that? Let's see, 58. Wasn't much. I don't know, about $65 or something, maybe 65 or 70. But I had a trade on gold earlier that I was waiting on. You can see that was added to this trade on micro Nasdaq. So for London time frame, $114, and that's trading 1 micro on gold and like 2 micros on Nasdaq. So am I happy with that? Yeah, sure, why not? It builds up, I don't have emotions. And you can see we started this at it was about 2.5 hours ago, $114. So you know, you want to break that down to like a average hourly earnings. You know, you make like $100 in 2 hours. You know, $50 an hour. That's pretty good money, probably for anyone. So that pretty much gonna wrap up my London for today. Yeah, I'll continue to monitor this. So I'm gonna take a break. I'll come back in a little while and see what price does. But overall, you know, if you're gonna base on what my expectations are next, my expectations right here, key area, if sellers can continue to push down, they'll go to the halfway point. And if they get past that, they get past this fair value gap, they will go challenge this down here, and most likely they'll hit their target down here. Just like they did up here, they hit Europe and London targets, probably do the same down here. So expectations right now, if I was going to draw something out, would be, you know, move from here up to here, reaction from this area down, or we move down from here to here, right? Probably hang out in this area for a little bit, and then it'd be pushed down to there. And this is going with momentum. Yeah, that's how I look at the market. So, and my expectations on going down do not change until the price can get above all this mess up here. You have to get above that and hold it. And it could be a challenge for price. And you can see there's more volume right in here because we were traded at that area for quite a while. It's going to be a challenge for price to get past here for several reasons. All the volume, all the trading, all the untouched levels, the VWAP. I don't trade off the VWAP, but VWAP can be like a price moves up, hits it, finds the value there, and then dumps it. So, yeah, we'll check that out throughout the day and see what happens. But thank you for joining me today on my first inaugural trading session. It went well. Had one win off chart on gold, one win on NASDAQ, small win, not big. I think, what was it? I think I said it was like 18 points or something. Be a bigger win if it was E-mini, but micros, I'm still happy with it. So, yeah, give me the thumbs up. You know, like my stream. Hopefully, you learned something. You know, I think I'm a little bit different than some of the other YouTube influencers, but hopefully, I can keep kind of sharing my thoughts and ideas, and maybe take something away. So, use my codes with the few companies that I support. You know, it's a way to support me. So appreciate your time, and we'll see y'all tomorrow. Until then, do widzenia.